Hi, I'm Brian, and thank you for joining me on this journey as I take a deep dive into the lead singer of Yes's Jon, the sometimes singer of Yes, Jon, the former lead singer of Yes, Jon, the genius of Yes, that is Jon Anderson and his 1976 solo album, Olias of Sunhillow. I picked this up recently at a market for $15. I don't think I'd ever heard it or listened to it before. And I put up a video about the buyer beware elements of going to markets. This one came out and sounds really good when you can't hear that sort of bacon and eggs in the background, but still, interesting time for Yes, because after Relayer in 1974, it's an album which I don't really sort of identify with, or it doesn't really rock my boat, even though I know it does for so many people who know more about Yes than I do. But at the end of Relayer, they decided to stuff it. We've got all these songs inside of us, and we've got to get them out. So they decided to all do solo albums in an interim period before the next Yes album. And Olias of Sunhillow was one of those albums which came out of that process. The only other one I have is Chris Squire's Fish Out of Water. And it's really kind of interesting because this one, in a sense, sounds closest to Yes, but sort of like an unofficial Yes album, where this one doesn't sort of sound as much directly as a Yes album. But if you told me it was a Yes album, I would have gone, for the most part, absolutely. Anyway, so Patrick Moraz the keyboard player, put out The Story of I. Alan White, the drummer, put out Ramshackle. What else did we have? We had Chris Squire, Fish Out of Water. And then we had Steve Howe putting out Beginnings, which I never really got. I never really resonated with. And even so much when I saw it for $20 the other day, I didn't pick it up. And I think it might have to do with his voice. And then we had, to me, after all this time, the crowning achievement, Olias of Sunhillow. Now, this is an Australian pressing, and it was the only Australian pressing, and it's done on Atlantic. But look at this cover. Isn't that so cool? But it gets even better when you open it up. It's a gatefold. And then you can open up this. Look at that artistry. Absolutely phenomenal. Get those little goodies in there as well. And then we can take out, there's our inner with all the lyrics on it. I think that even there's a booklet or something I'm missing here as well. And then when we go to the album itself, the vinyl itself, that looks absolutely lovely. And I think, it needs another clean, but still, whatever. Pretty amazing. So Jon Anderson said of this album, which is a concept album, of course, and I did this in my deep diving research into Wikipedia. You can do that too. I just thought of the story as three magicians coming out of space to take these tribes from one planet to another to save them from destruction. It's a very simple story. It sounds simple. I hope it will be taken on a level without people thinking there are any hidden messages. No, Jon, I won't be taking it on board looking for hidden messages, because I find your lyrics so hard to decipher as it is. I mean, Close to the Edge, which is like my favorite prog song of all time, and the album is my favorite prog album of all time. I heard that his lyrics were indecipherable. And so what I did, I plonked myself down in front of YouTube and put in Close to the Edge lyrics. And I sat there and listened to the song as I watched the lyrics come up. And I still had no idea what was going on. And perhaps naivety and innocence is a beautiful state, a beautiful, comforting state to reside in. But here are some of those lyrics. A seasoned witch could call you from the depths of your disgrace and rearrange your liver to the solid mental grace and achieve it all with music that came quickly from afar, that taste the fruit of man recorded losing all against the hour. Don't know. Anyway, doesn't matter, because most of these other albums that the Yes guys put together were basically filled with Yes musicians or hotshot musicians, studio musicians, whatever. And then I discovered, looking at this album, that Jon Anderson played everything on it. I'm like, oh, how could this be good? And he produced it, and I thought this would be a disadvantage. Was I right? Was I wrong? I think I've already given away my answer, but let's find out. Side one starts off with Ocean Song, and the thing immediately that comes across is that this does sound like an ocean song, like you're going over the ripples of the water and the wind's blowing through your hair. And it has a real Southeast Asian feel to it. And that's a sort of a motif that walks its way all the way through this album. And this is a song that Yes would actually play in concert when they return to the road. It's cleansing, it's a welcoming, it's a beginning, it's a bargaining. It's just a beautiful way to get us into the song itself. And then we go into the meeting garden of Geda. And now it's Jon's voice which welcomes us into this world. It's really beautiful. And the thing about this song immediately is it seems to have some of that sort of 1980s production polish to it, if you will. I don't know whether Jon Anderson was traveling into the future and back going, oh my God, guys, we can use this, or he was just anticipating that feel, but it works beautifully. And then we go into Sound Out The Galleon, which is very similar to Yes, with that sort of awkward, folksy, like poppy-like vocals, multi-track vocals. And I can't really work out the lyrics, which you think would be important in a concept album. But I'm trying. They just seem to be buried a little bit. There stands Olias to outward build a ship, holding within all we hope to retain. The frame will be so built to challenge the universe, clasp the skins of the fish of the plain. I don't know what you can work out from that, but I get the sense that he's going on board a ship, which is not really going to go over oceans, but going to go through the air into distant and different astral planes. I think that's sort of the job going on here. Anyway, it's a great start musically and vocally, and it sounds really perfect, to tell you the truth. And then we come up to the dance of Ranyart and Olias to build the Moorglade, and there's gorgeous acoustic guitar and harp, which opens up this instrumental dance of the Ranyart. It definitely has moments of close to the edge, and I don't want to compare everything back to Yes, because this album is definitely its own beast, its own different beast, its own celestial beast. But you know what? It's not a bad thing, and particularly when you can sort of say that it reminds me of Yes without being Yes. Um, Again, I come back to that idea. This is new Yes. That sounds really interesting because his serene multi-track vocals are there, and the harmonies that he uses, particularly those low harmonies, they haven't taken a holiday. They're working full time right now. And for me, that's an absolutely great part of it. Now, the second bit with Olias to build the Moorglade, that sort of does miss the bass of the squire and the drums of the white, the Lord White and Squire. But it doesn't matter. It would have taken it over the top, but it still sounds absolutely great. And the lyrics then build the ship, the Moorglade mover, to sail a silence which nobody knows. And there's often a motif and a reference to the silence throughout this song. I'm in trouble now because I've got a name that I can't pronounce at all. And is it Qoquaq Ën Transic, which to me is like this guy called Qoquaq Ën Transit. That's what's in my brain, but I'm probably entirely wrong. And it's ethereal, it's trance-like, and it welcomes us into this meditative state, which moves on throughout the rest. This is a pleasant journey. And then we come into Naon, where the percussion is building, and it's joined by Jon's vocal. It's a chanting, it's a demanding voice that soars and sails into a plaintive chorus of voices. It's beautifully harmonized. Let's have some of those lyrics. Oh, lend a clear light, we motion the stars. Call his name, call his name. We chase as we run, to move we delight. Call his name, call his name. We chase a clear light, the ocean decide. Call his name, call his name. Aria, aria. The final phase of this song returns us to the motif and instrumentation of the opening song, which is kind of really cool and got to stop talking about close to the edge, which has this cyclic feel to it, and we get the sense that we've been around. Is it Sunhillow? Is it the Earth? Is it the universe? I don't know. And to tell you the truth, I can't be bothered to know, because if I work out what I think is going to be the definitive version of this song, I'm probably going to have all these Yes people who know so much more about this great band than I do coming down and correcting me. Please correct me. I'm all for it. It's just that stampede. I can hear it going. So anyway, and do you know what's worse? It's not even the last song on this side. So I've built up this idea of a cycle, and there's still a song to come, which is Flight of the Moorglade, which is the first and only single from this album. And it's easy to see why, because it has those folksy, poppy, hippie-ish style vocals, and it's really cool. And the lyrics: Word of life, rejoice the sunlight, cause the flower to open wide. Open. They ride, climb into the dark sky. I love the emphasis in that poetry of the long vowel sounds of I. We've got sunlight, wide, ride, climb, sky. It's a sumptuous and heavenly way to finish this side of the music. We are finishing the side here. Yep. The tone arm's gone up, beautiful, and we've got that wonderful the majesty. What's the word I'm looking for? The majesty of Jon's harmonized vocals with this chorus of the percussion and bells in some sort of concerto. Absolutely fantastic. So this side, this album so far has well exceeded my expectations when I plopped down my $15 to get it. Can it hold up over side two? My pick is that it probably can, but let's find out. Side two comes cranking out with no discernible loss of quality with solid space. And I dig that organ to start. And I really, once again, I feel home. I feel welcomed when I have those harmonized multi-track vocals of Jon Anderson. And here, as a reference point, as only as a reference point, they remind me a lot of side one of Topographic Oceans, which is a side of music that I think is absolutely sublime. Although I could be just saying it that this reminds me or references Jon Anderson's vocal work with Yes, because I see his voice as an instrument so much so that I don't necessarily need to hear the vocals come out of his mouth, if that makes any sense. But I've worked out if you read it as poetry, then that can expose some beautiful images in your mind. Like here, hold my life, cross the path, course and curl my dreams away, fast the soul, make the break as even as the stars that form the way. Beautiful. We then move on to Moon, Ra Chords and Song of Search, and the chanting that begins this is very reminiscent of sort of tribal and mysterious worlds. We have percussion, we have pipes, we have keys, we have some bass and orchestra, all of the Andersons. We've got to remember he's doing it all at this point. And then around the 5-minute mark, the percussions and the Andersons all drop out, and there is a sense of arrival at this place of splendor and community in the lyrics. So brightly to each tribe came release. Higher dreams took the smallest hands crystallized inside a sleep. Beautiful imagery. Now as one we'll sound our lives to the sun as we wait the call to ascend to the stars, all to enter your heart, to your love. Beautiful, sublime, breezy, blissful. And I love that classical guitar which underpins it all. Absolutely fantastic. Next up is the second last song on the album. It's a Song of Search, and we get this heartbeat on the bass drum and an optimistic searching melody plays. And here's a good time to talk about the soundstage, because remembering, Jon Anderson produced this album as well, and it really feels enormous. It feels through reverberation and echo. We get that sense of space, that there's the sky, it's unlimited. Same for the oceans, going out to a horizon which just doesn't exist, and the world around us full of beauty and grandeur and glory. That takes us into the final song, which is To the Runner. Again, we have that tribal feel with this, a sense of being pushed forward, and that is being underscored by what seems to me to be a droning of sitar. Now, he does play sitar on the album, and so this is probably where it comes in. The vocals are a tad buried on my pressing, which is annoying in a sense, but I still get that sense that they're weaving in amongst each other and creating this vibrant, animated instrument as well, which is showcasing his instrument, his voice, as something of near virtuosity. Absolutely wonderful. So this is an extraordinarily strong album, which is a powerful experience from start to finish as you go through all the trials and tribulations, all the way through the hope, the glory, and the grandeur, until you exit, hopefully, a changed person. And that's the remit here, that you will have been changed by this music and you will have found peace and comfort and understanding and all those sorts of things. And I don't know whether that happened for me, but I do know that I was affected by the effectiveness of this crazy concerto. It really worked for me well. And for $15, wow. And I'm going to go out on a limb, but say those 5 solo albums which were produced at the end of when Yes went on a holiday, I'd have to put this as number 1. It's given me a lot of pleasure, and reminding you that if music of any style, shape, substance, or Sunhillow gives you pleasure, then I'm not going to argue with your opinion. Thanks so much for coming on this journey with me. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you liked it. And if you'd like to join me for some other experiences and journeys into albums, then maybe open one of those. There's some good stuff in there, and maybe you'll find something that you really like. Until next time, I'm Brian, and I hope you're doing really well, staying cool. And bye now.